Okay, so our HMH lesson 4.13, we're mainly going over story structure. I need you guys to take out my own liners, that little packet that has all your HMH stuff in. It looks like this, and it's stapled together. You need to get to the anchor chart that says story structure on it, like that, okay? Story structure, it looks like this. Let me zoom out so you can see the whole thing. Okay, so this is what you need to have out right now. I'm sorry. Why is there so much talking? Sit. Listen. Stories often have similar structure. Authors organize the plot in a way that will entertain readers. So if we're talking about what is the author's purpose of writing this, he's entertaining us. They entertain us by giving us three parts of a story, a beginning, middle, and end. You guys have experienced this when we do our writing, right? You always have a beginning, introduction, and then the middle is the body, and then the end. When you're writing a story, the beginning part are events that include a conflict or a problem that the characters face. So what's the problem? So we're basically, we're going to be focusing on if the shoe fits, the story we read yesterday. We're going to really be focusing on the beginning of the story and what the problem was. And then we're going to talk about the middle of the story, and that's the events or the things that happened in the middle to try to show how the characters solve their problems. And then we're going to talk about the end, which is events that, the events at the end include the resolution or how the characters solve the problem, okay? And then we're going to look for evidence or clues in the text to describe a story's plot. So you're going to have a option today. You can either do the If the Shoe Fits story, Cinderella named Zoe, or you can do a Cinderella named Quan. And the difference between those is a Cinderella named Zoe is a more current story, right? And the other one was a Korean story. I'm going to open up those stories right now to show you what I'm talking about. Let's see. Where are you? There you are. Okay. So now, going back here, you have a choice. You can either do If the Shoe Fits. You can do a Cinderella named Zoe. Or you can do a Cinderella named Quan. You should have your books open. Miss Youssef, what am I going to do? You're going to fill out this graphic organizer. So if you want to do the Cinderella named Zoe over here where it says title, you're going to write the Cinderella named Zoe. If you want to do the other one, you're going to write the title of the other one here. You're going to write the conflict. What's the problem in the story? Okay, so let's review. What is the problem in the story for a Cinderella named Zoe? Leia? Good. The problem is that she wants to go to the birthday party, but her mom told her she couldn't because she thought she changed the password on the computer. So she was in trouble. But did she really change it? No. Who changed it? Her brother. Her stepbrother. So if you want to do a Cinderella named Zoe, that's what you're going to write in the beginning. And then you're going to write what happens in the middle, and then you're going to have to tell me how they solve the problem. How did they solve the problem in that story? Dominic? Okay, but then at the end, when she goes to the party, what happens, Rena? Good, she only had one shoe on. Good, she only had one shoe on, and they wanted to make her feel better, so they all took one shoe off, so they can all be the same as her, right? That's how the resolution, that's how they solve that problem. If you want to do a Cinderella named Quan, let's talk about that one. If you're going to do that one, what's the beginning or the conflict in that problem? What's the problem there, Dustin? Well, that's not the problem. That's an event. But what's the problem? Mariah? Okay, but where does she want to go? Maybe we should reread. Who wants to reread that story? Okay, no one wants to reread it. Okay, Let's talk about it. If you don't know, then we're going to have to reread it, okay? So, what was the problem in that story? Where did she want to go? Dominic? She wanted to go to the festival. Very good. And did her stepmother let her? She said, you can, but what do you have to do first? Get out all the weeds in the garden. And there were a lot of weeds in that garden. So over here, what is the conflict? That Juan wanted to go to the festival, but her stepmom didn't let her. She said she had to pick all the weeds. And then in the middle, what happens? What happens, Destin? But she finds what to help her? She finds the... Mariah? She finds a cow that helps her weed the garden and take all the weeds out really quickly. And then who comes? Is it a fairy godmother? No, it's those magical singing birds. And they came and they gave her a pretty dress and pretty shoes to wear to the festival. But she loses one of the shoes in the river. And what happens at the end? The prince finds the shoe and wants to find who the shoe belongs to. And then he gives the shoe to who? He tries to let Juan put it on first, but who pushes him out of the way and is acting all rude? Her stepsister acts all rude, and he says, I don't want to talk to the rude one. How about we talk to the nice one first? And he puts it on Juan, which is the nicer one, and he finds out that it fits her, and he does what? He marries her, and they live happily ever after. So, Miss Yusuf, that sounds like a lot of writing. Does it not? No. Okay, good. You're going to have to rewrite it in your own words. Now, again, you have the option on which one to do. When you are done with that, what you're going to do after the story structure, you shouldn't be starting yet, Miss Leia. When you're done with the story structure part, you're going to do, if you flip to the next 2 pages, on the bottom it says page 117. There are 2 questions on there. They ask you about the story. Everyone go to that page real quickly for me in your packet. Page 117, it says story structure. So go ahead, get there, Miss Rena. JC, sit down and get there, please. Okay, it says, the question is, most stories have the same story structure. In the beginning, characters... Here, let me open it on here so everyone can see it, even my onliners. Give me just a second. All right, it's this page. It says 117 on the bottom. 11. I'm sorry. Thank you for being patient. There we go. It's right here. Let's read it together. Story structure. Most stories have the same story structure. In the beginning, characters face a conflict or a problem. The middle of the story has events that happened as characters try to solve the problem. The events at the end explain the resolution or how the conflict is solved. The conflict, events, and resolution make up the story's plot. So we have to answer the questions about if the shoe fits 2 Cinderella stories. The question is, what is the conflict Zoe has? Dustin, what's the conflict Zoe has? She wants to go to Randall's party, but she must stay home and do chores, right? All right. Summarize how the conflict is resolved and how the story ends. How does the story end? Who helps her do her chores? Who remembers that lady's name? Mariah? The neighbor. Leia? No? We're talking about the Zoe one. Cinderella Zoe. Yes? I'm sorry, ask Dominic. What? Good. Mrs. Fortuna. She helps her do her chores so she can go to the party. Randall notices Zoe is only wearing one shoe and invites the others to take off a shoe too, so they make her feel better. That's basically your answer for number 1. Number 2, retell the main events of the story. What happens at the beginning, what happens in the middle, what happens at the end. They're retelling what story? The story on page 194. So you're basically retelling a Cinderella named Juan story. You can tell me what happens in the beginning, what happens in the middle, what happens in the end. What happens in the beginning? Oh. Dustin? Juan must weed the garden before she can go to the festival. Then what happens? What's that happens in the middle? Rena? Good. She found a cow that eats the weeds and birds give her clothes, so she loses a shoe to return home. And then what happens last? A prince finds her shoe, he discovers it is Kwan, and they live happily ever after. That's it. That's all you're going to do there. Very easy. When you're done with this worksheet, story structure worksheet, and you're done with the story structure graphic organizer, you are going to complete the quiz if the shoe fits to Cinderella Stories. It's inside of your baggie, guys. It's 5 questions. You can use your book to help you find the answers. Okay? So you have 3 things to do for your HMH reading today. You have the graphic organizer. This is graphic organizer, story structure. You can choose one of those Cinderella stories. Then you have this worksheet with 2 questions about the story structure. And then you have the quiz if the shoe fits to Cinderella Stories. If you have any questions, let me know. Have fun learning, and I'll see you guys later.